It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara rolls away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday Session, a podcast for Harness Racing New South Wales, which is a part of the Sprint Lane podcast series. My name is Greg Hayes, and for the next half an hour or so, I'm going to look at harness racing, concentrating on New South Wales, but as you'd expect after such a big weekend of racing, I'll also look at what's been happening in other states and New Zealand. Tennis has a ranking system that decides who's the best player in the world. You play in a tournament, you score points, depending on your result, and that dictates the rankings. Obviously, we don't have that in harness racing, but I think we may have seen some reshuffling of the rankings in harness racing over the last 72 hours. Quickly, the wrap-up of results. Leap to Fame beats Don Hugo in the slot race in New Zealand and produces what some are saying is a career-best run, and Swayze has his colours lowered by the old Marvel Max Delight at Menangle after a soul-stirring sprint up the straight. The plans with Leap to Fame are to come home to Australia and prepare him for the Inter-Dominion, while Don Hugo and Swayze both get set to fly across to Perth to compete in the Nullarbor, which is another slot race. Gary Hall Jr., he's great for the media, coming up with a quote on SEN during the week saying that Swayze is 1,000 to 1. To win the race if he gets caught outside the leader. No doubt that those conversations are going to spice up in coming days. Look, Leap to Fame might have lost some of his shine in some people's eyes after a couple of rare away defeats in 2025. Narrowly beaten in the Hunter Cup by Swayze after doing a lot of work off the fence and still nearly won, and was then beaten in the Miracle Mile after racing off the marker pegs. Rivals thought they'd spotted a chink in the armour of Leap to Fame, park him, make him do the work off the pegs. Cam Hart and Luke McCarthy used different thought processes in the Hunter Cup and Miracle Mile. Cam Hart ran hard and wanted to take Larry out of his comfort zone. He also played to Swayze's strengths as a great stayer and took the speed out of the chasers. Luke McCarthy, on the other hand, controlled the tempo in the Miracle Mile and then dashed up the straight, out-zipped Leap to Fame on the corner. Now, Don Hugo produced a remarkable performance to win, but Leap to Fame didn't stop in the Miracle Mile. He was coming again and was only beaten 1.3 metres on the line after Don Hugo had raced up to 4 metres in front of the Queenslander with 200 metres to go. Grant Dixon has obviously gone home since the Miracle Mile defeat. If he reads social media, he would have seen plenty of advice from punters. And look, to be fair, I had Fred Hastings on the podcast after the Miracle Mile, and I think I said to Fred something like, I wonder whether Grant Dixon would like that drive over again because he let Luke dictate the race. Well, there was no letting Luke dictate the race on Friday night. Grant had Leap to Fame up breathing fire, and rather than Don Hugo slipping Leap to Fame on the turn, Grant was up eyeballing Don Hugo. The time in sloppy conditions was out of this world. I've heard the Seymours have got their eyes on Blacks Are Fake's prize money record. Well, by my calculations, Leap to Fame goes past Smoking Up on Friday night. He's now gone to 4th on the list, Leap to Fame. You've got Blacks Are Fake first with 4,575,438. I'm the Mighty Quinn is second with 4,567,456. Lazarus third with $4,125,988 in his bank account. And now I make Leap to Fame $4,009,660. So he's still got over 560,000 to go, a little bit more to get past Blacks Are Fake. Now there's every chance Leap to Fame will get that chance to jump Blacks Are Fake in the Inter-Dominion in Queensland. a race that Blacks Are Fake made his own. Wouldn't that be poetic? In the trot race in New Zealand, it was more success for Australia with Chris Venozio, Duncan McPherson and RC Phoenix combining to win. Oscar Bonavina was up in the air soon after the start. The Locomotive was forced to sit park. I think rival trainers and drivers have worked out the pattern for the Locomotive. You park him and he can't beat you. Now, in saying that, his run on Friday night was much better than his run in the Hammerhead. He battled on very bravely on Friday night and managed to get himself back into third spot after looking certain to miss the placings at the top of the straight. At this stage of his career, the Locomotive does look a little bit vulnerable off the pegs. The more he gets parked, the tougher he's going to become. But the rivals have found his Achilles heel currently. Don't get me wrong, I'm the president of the Locomotives fan club. Love the horse, love that he's been invited to compete in Sweden because he does have that speed. And I think he's got the speed to win a heat over in Sweden if he gets the right draw. I've got absolutely no doubt in the world he could do something over there. Might be a bit different in the final, but if he draws to win the heat, I think he can win it. Just while I'm talking about New Zealand, Mark Purdon enjoyed his first training success in the thoroughbreds on Saturday at Ellerslie. I mentioned last week on the podcast, Luke McCarthy saying on Glenn Boss's podcast that he's looking at getting his trainer's license in the thoroughbreds just for something to do. He's always had an interest in the thoroughbreds. Well, Mark Purdon finally got his first winner. It was Purdon's 13th runner, lucky for some, and I saw him interviewed after the race. He said it was his hobby, and he's only got the two horses in work. Buster Shaw was the name of the horse that won the race, paid upwards of $20 on the tote. So well done to Mark on that success. I want to mention the form of trotter Sheet Web Weaver for Bruce Birch. Now won 4 in a row since resuming, started its career in Victoria, came to New South Wales and then found its way to Bruce's stable for this campaign. Haven't seen much of Bruce over recent years, spent a lot of time in the US obviously and had some success, but well done to Birch with the form of Sheet Web Weaver. And while I'm handing out wraps, what about Robbie Morris at Menangle? Back in the day, he would have cleaned up at Harold Park with his peg-hugging drives, but he keeps finding a passing lane at Menangle where there isn't one. If you didn't see the first race last night, go and watch the replay of Double Fear winning at headquarters. Robbie has a knack of producing winning drives along the pegs. Well done to Robbie. Who's on the podcast today? Couple of young guns. I'm going to catch up with Will Rixon after he drove Max Delight to victory in the free-for-all at Menangle and took the scalp of Swayze in the process. It has been a pretty big week for Will after Gunna Reload won the Gold Bracelet last weekend, so I thought I'd catch up with Will to have a chat. Watching the race live, Will had a massive smile on his face after the line, and obviously him and Cam Hart are pretty close mates, so I wonder whether something was said after the line between the two. I'll ask him anyway. Just on Max Delight, how good is a horse like him for the promotion of harness racing? He's 9 years old, still competing with the best horses in the country, still earning money for his connections. Yes, he set a record figure when he went through the sales ring all those years ago now, but to be still earning at his age is something that the thoroughbred industry doesn't have. Yes, I can hear the argument now. If he was a thoroughbred and he had that type of ability, he would have won $10 million compared to his 1.4 or whatever he's won now in our sport. But the longevity of the standard bred is something I think we fail to show prospective owners. It's a huge, huge plus for our industry. I'm going to do something I don't normally do on this podcast. I'm going to speak with a driver who drove a treble interstate. Drove 3 winners at Albion Park, actually. Young Tom Callaghan enjoyed the best night of his career when he drove 3 winners in Brisbane. He's starting to find his feet up there after his older brother Jack's success. I thought the logical progression would be for Tom to follow Jack to Sydney, but Tom's gone north, and I think this might be something that kicks off something special for Tom. It could be really the chance for him to drive winner after winner, especially with that claim. I'll talk to Tom about his 3 winners, but I also want to talk to him about that decision to go north rather than south. He's working for Pete McMullen and Chantel Turpin, so I'll ask him about that experience as well. Plenty to talk with young Tom about. Great to see him doing so well. Mr. T will have a couple of tips as the tipping challenge continues. I had a complete wipeout at Goulburn. Not only did I miss with my 2 specials last week on the podcast, I do a preview for the Goulburn Club, and I stopped a total of 4 last week, so fingers crossed I can get back onto the winners list this time around. Mr. T found 1 winner, so he stretches his lead. We'll have a quick wrap-up of fantasy harness racing, and that will just about wrap up the podcast. A lot to get through today, but first up, let's hear from Will Rixon.
Swayze, he taps him up. He's 4 metres on Max Delight, sticking to him at the moment. 27.3 the quarter. Then came Pete, said so as heads were turned for home. Swayze, what's he got? He leads the way by 4 metres, just with an inclination to swish that tail. Max Delight comes off his tail now to give chase. Max out after Swayze. Max Delight moves up on the outside. Swayze's got a find. Swayze's trying, but Max Delight, what a star he is. Max Delight goes home to beat Swayze. JOK.
Well, Will Rixon produced a bit of magic on Saturday night at Menangle when he was able to plot the downfall of Swayze as he drove Max Delight for David Aiken and turned it into a real dash up the straight, and he was able to get the better of Swayze in the concluding stages. Will Rixon's joining me to have a chat. Congratulations, Will. Good night at the office.
Morning, Hazy. Yeah, thank you. No, it was definitely a good night, and yeah, just very grateful to be able to, drive horses like Max Delight, that's for sure.
Take us through the start. You drew outside him, but you were able to get in on the pegs. That was a nice way to start the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a little bit disappointed when the draw came out that he drew next to him. Obviously, the other way around would have been okay, but even if he drew a bit wider, I feel like I would have been able to get a little bit more of an advantage of him. But, I spoke to Aki about the race beforehand, and if we decided to go back behind Pete said so, I felt as though we're giving ourselves no chance of beating him, where if we happen to find his back, we're giving ourselves a chance to beat him and try and, get him late. So I was hoping I could nearly clear Swayze, but the gate was going quite quick before they let us go, and he really mustered through and got out of the gate really good, Swayze, and I was just lucky enough that I sort of had to push him a bit further to try and open that gap on his back, and I was lucky enough to squeeze in there, and it worked out well.
And then basically after that, the lead time was 48.7, so quick enough, and then a 29.5 first quarter, but then Cam really he wanted to turn it into a staying test and really let Swayze roll from the 1,200 metres, which probably helped Max Delight chasing there behind him.
Yeah, I was happy that the lead time wasn't blistering quick. 48.7 I don't think is too bad for that grade of horses, and then the 29, nearly 30 first quarter I thought suited us as well. Just give us just that little bit of a breather after, burning the first 200, and yeah, you could just really feel us pick up the pace down the back straight. But my bloke never really dropped his helmet or dropped the bit, and coming into the straight, I was it's hard to be too confident that you're going to beat him, but I knew I was going to make a good race of it. He travelled so well, and I just know how hard he tries. Yeah, it was a pretty big thrill to be able to get in front of him.
Was it a case of making sure you waited for as long as you could, rather than coming out straight on the turn? You sat there behind his helmet, behind Cam's helmet, for probably at least 100 metres, maybe even a little bit more, just to make sure you saved your bloke up for that last little dash.
Yeah, well, just, knowing the horse so well, obviously Don't Stop Dreaming's one of the fastest horses in Australia, and he got to him in the New Zealand Cup, and he was able to kick back. He got to him early and was able to kick back and beat him on the line. So the last thing I wanted to do was get to him early and get into, a dogfight, because Swayze's just so strong, and once he sees you to the outside, he normally can kick. So I actually was hoping, before the race to find his back. So I picked a little spot in the warm-up, one of the signs on the inside of the track, and just told myself not to pull out before I get to that sign if I'm travelling. And so it's a lot harder to do, I tell you, when you're in the race, because, I could feel I had a lap for a horse with Max travelling so good on his back, but I was just waiting and telling myself to wait till I got to that sign. And, once I got to the sign about the 200-metre mark, really let him rip, and, just lucky it worked out.
Obviously, once you were past the post, I saw you with a big smile on your face. Did you say anything to Cam after you'd gone past the post?
Nah, just Cam yelled out something like well done, or I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was just, you don't expect to beat them sort of horses, and And I just love this horse. He just tries so hard, and I couldn't help but put a smile. And he gives me a great thrill every time I sit behind him, and I was just so proud of him, really.
You've now, I think, had 6 drives on him. I think you've won 3 of those, and you know, I guess a few years ago, if you'd said, "Oh, you're going to jump on a 9-year-old and you're going to have a really good association with him late in his career and driving some big races like the Miracle Mile," you would have sort of thought, "Nah, what are you talking about?" But this horse he's just a one of a kind, because, you know, to be so good from an early age, and he's been, you know, he's obviously had one bad injury, but he's been able to come back and still be going so strong at his age is a phenomenal achievement for both the horse and the trainer.
Absolutely. Like, all credit's really got to go to David Aiken. Like, you know, the job he's done with him, and every time I've driven him, he goes out on the track and bounces around like it's his second or third start. He's sharp as in the warm-up. He's bright as a button, and he just keeps him so fresh and keeps him so happy. And yeah, it's a huge effort. He's just a freak of a trainer, really, and the horse is just a gentleman. He tries so hard, and yeah, as I said earlier, I'm just, you know, really grateful that I get to sit behind a horse of his caliber, and for him to be racing as well as he is. I think he's not only given Akey and I a thrill and his owners, but, like, you know, a lot of people just love watching him race. So it's good for everyone, really.
Did Akey say what his plans were after the race? Will he just stick around Menangle?
Yeah, we spoke about the Goldman Cup sort of the other day, but I'm not sure if that's still going ahead. That's on Sunday, so the draw probably isn't ideal for that. It's, you know, preferential draw on national rating, and it's over 2,200. So it's going to draw bad over 2,200, which still make it a little hard. So I'm just not sure whether he's going to go that way or not. And yeah, hopefully a long-term plan. If he keeps his form up, I'm sure they'll give him another crack at it into the Minion, which would be nice.
Mate, I did want to catch up with you too after Bathurst last week. I think that Gunna Reload victory in the Gold Bracelet was pretty special for you.
Oh, it sure was, Greg. I'm still on a high about it, to be honest. It was just so special. Like, we love that filly, and it's the best horse that you know, our family's had for a little bit of time now, and yeah, to win a big race for Mum and Dad, it really meant the world. They worked so hard, they put so much time into their horses, and yeah, it was a really rewarding night. It was really exciting. And
a little bit of a salute on the line. I've seen an interview where you spoke about that earlier with Paul. Something that you don't normally do, but that wasn't planned. That just happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've obviously been lucky enough to win some nice races and drive some good horses, but yeah, it's not really something that I've ever done too much in my career. But when I hit that line, I was just so excited. You know, I know how hard it is to win these races, and, you know, especially for family. Not many people, you know, get to experience that because it's so hard to win. So yeah, just really enjoyed it, and had a lot of friends and family. You know, being at the big night at Bathurst, had a lot of family there and a lot of friends, and yeah, it was just a really good moment. And yeah, definitely didn't plan it. It just happened.
She's she was a little bit of a forgotten horse coming back as a 3-year-old. Like, she finished 4th in the Wraith, and then you went to your heat and you won that comfortably. But she goes around in the final as a $18 chance. People quick to forget what she was doing as a 2-year-old.
Yeah, which, you know, it doesn't worry me too much. But definitely, I think, you know, with the 2 favourites drawing 1 and 3, everyone thought it was between them and 2, which is fair enough because they were, you know, racing so well. But I was stoked with my draw. I said to Dad when the field come out, "Geez, that's a good draw," because, you know, Mick Stanley and Ricky Arson's filly, they were always going to, you know, drive to beat each other because they were both racing so well. And we just had that perfect, you know, spot behind them to the back row. And we had options whether to stay in the running line or go the fence. So I was stoked for that draw, and lucky it worked out that way, which doesn't always. But, yeah, I mean, it's easy to say now, but she definitely shouldn't have been them odds. She's won 7 out of 10 in her career and always raced the nice horses. So she's definitely a pretty good horse.
Where does she go? Are you looking at the Oaks?
Yeah, definitely. There's a Golden Easter egg next Saturday night for 3-year-old fillies. So she'll be in that, hopefully, all going well. And the winner of that actually is straight through to the Oaks. So obviously that would be nice, but it's going to be hard to win. And then I think 3 weeks after that, the Oaks heats, or maybe 2 weeks. So that's the next aim.
Okay, exciting times, mate. You continue driving winners. You're having a fantastic run. Congratulations with the result last night, and good luck with Gunna Reload next week.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Hazy.
200 metres left to run. Shack out the back, races alongside of Miss Consequences and takes over. Peeling to the outside, Bradner's June. Wider to be fair to you. Then a perfect and Shack out the back in front. Holding on, Bradner's June starting to drive. Shack out the back, Shack out the back. Tommy Callaghan with a Metro treble.
18-year-old Tom Callaghan enjoyed his best night since moving north at Albion Park on Saturday night when he drove a Metropolitan treble, Storm Tide, Delhi Row and Shack out the back. All saluted, and it's great to see the young bloke kicking goals interstate, and he's joining me to have a chat. Congratulations, Tom. Great night for you.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me, mate.
No problems at all. Always nice to go to the races and drive 3 winners, but on a Saturday night, I guess it makes it even more special.
Yeah, well, it was actually my first treble, so to do it on a Saturday, it made it even more special, as you say.
3 nice horses. Storm Tide for Donnie Smith. You're able to dictate the race and really got going inside the final half?
Yeah, he's a horse that probably races best over a mile, but I got the first half of the race pretty well, easy, and Donnie filled me with confidence that he'd run really well, and he sprinted up straight nicely.
Delhi Row for the boss. He looks like a horse that might be going places. Went 150.7 over the mile a couple of starts ago, and then they've gone back to the middle trip, and he was good last time out. You got a drive on him last night, and he looks a really nice horse.
Yeah, he is. Gave me a great feel last night. It was awesome to get behind him, and really thankful that Pete and Chantel put the trust in me to drive a quality horse like that. I was just glad I could get the job done for him.
27-1, 26-3, the last 2 quarters. Like, you've blown the clock apart there.
Yeah, as you say, he's quality, and when he got a really cheap lead time there, and once I got that, I was full of confidence. You know, he got rolling through the half there and really swelled up down the back there, and you know, it was a great feel.
You did get that soft lead time. When Sure Thing Captain came outside you didn't panic at all? You were happy just to still run your own race?
Yeah, 100%, especially after getting that lead time that I got. I thought he'd be there a bit earlier than what he was, but you know, it probably played into my hands a bit that I could dictate the race, and I just slowly increased the speed once he started moving just because I had that soft lead time. So, yeah, it all worked out good for me.
What about Shack out the back, the third of the 3 winners? Another one for Chantel, and you seem to get on pretty well with this mare.
Yeah, it's all working good with her. She's been racing really well, and I don't know why I click with her. I just do, and she was really good last night. I was pretty confident that she could run really well last night, so it was good to get her home as well. Was she your first winner in Queensland when you went up there? Yeah, she was. So first winner for Pete and Chantel, so all good.
So you've got a pretty good affiliation going with that mare then?
Yeah, I think I've only had 4 drives on her and I've won 4 races on her, so hopefully it can keep going like that.
Mate, the decision to go north, look, I would have thought there would have been offers galore to come to Sydney. Obviously, Jack's made a name for himself down here, and there would have been an easy path to follow, to follow him down. What led to the decision to go to Queensland? Yeah, there probably would have been a few jobs down there in Sydney, but I bring a few of Dad's horses up here to Queensland throughout sort of September to October there, and really enjoyed the racing and the weather and whatnot. And I got talking to Tony Turpin, which is Chantel's father. He works at the track at Albion Park where I was staying, and he said, "Oh, you should try and get a job up here." I said, "Yeah, that'd be all right." And he said, "Oh, Pete and Chantel would have one there for you." And
next race meeting, Pete came up to me and offered a job, and it all sounded pretty good. So I grabbed it with both hands and made the move up here.
And I guess having that claim is like it is gold, but it's going to become worth even more now. You're really starting to get your name out there, especially with driving 3 on a Saturday night.
Yeah, 100%. And moving up to a different state to have a claim was always going to help, and just to get your name out there, because there's not heaps of claim drivers. There's always senior drivers there, but to have a claim at the moment really is helping. So hopefully it all can start rolling along.
Was it tough to leave home?
It was, just because I was moving so far away, and I knew I was going well down there at the time. So to move up here was a little bit daunting, really, but it's all worked out really well, and Pete and Chantal have been great. So couldn't be more grateful.
Is it tough following through behind Jack, or does the fact that Jack's walked that path make it a little bit easier for you?
I'd say I was probably putting a little bit of pressure on myself really early on in my career, just to try and be like Jack. But I think now I'm not too fussed about it. Jack's obviously a great driver, and I'd love to be like him one day, but it's always going to take time to get that good, and hopefully I can keep improving.
Were you always going to go into harness racing? Obviously your family does it. Your dad's had great success. We've mentioned Jack, but were you always going to follow in their footsteps?
Yeah, I think so. The moment I stepped into school, I wanted out of there. So Mum wasn't too happy about it, but she was the same with Jack, and she eventually came around to it and let us both leave school a bit earlier. So I think it's all working out well now.
And, in the future, would you like to head towards being a trainer driver, or at the moment you're just happy doing all the driving?
I love being around the horses. I love driving also, but I think I could see myself training down the track. I've learned a lot off Dad, and then moving up here now, Pete and Chantal have taught me a lot already. So if I can take all these things in, I wouldn't mind training at all.
And what does the future hold for you? Obviously you're happy there in Queensland in the short term, and we've mentioned your claim. I think the opportunities are going to get better and better, but can you see yourself completely relocating to Queensland for good? Is that what's in the future for you?
Well, I'm really enjoying it at the moment, and they seem to be going pretty good up here racing Queensland. So, at the moment I'm pretty happy with where things are at, and hopefully they can only go up from here.
What about working for Pete and Chantal? What's that like? Obviously Pete's one of the top drivers there in Queensland. I'm sure he'd be helping out if you needed any help with your driving.
Yeah, he's been great. Obviously, as you say, probably the top driver in the state, and I've taken a lot of things in already from Pete, and he's always great with his time, and ever need to ask him anything, he's more than happy to help. So, he's been great, Pete.
And how often do you get home? Do you get the chance to get home and catch up with the folks?
I went home for Christmas. Haven't been back since, but we're just starting to get pretty busy here at the moment. Obviously, the carnival's not too far away, and I might be able to duck home after the carnival. So, it's all good. We talk on the phone a lot, so it's all working out all right.
And is there a horse that you think's going to have a really big carnival that you're associated with at the moment?
I wouldn't say that I'm associated with, but there's a fair few here that are coming up that are pretty nice. Obviously, you would have seen the Janitor and whatnot. He's a pretty special horse, so hopefully he can have a nice carnival, and Pete and Chantal will, I'm sure, manage him well.
Well, mate, great to see you drive 3 winners. Are your colours exactly the same as Jack's, or is there a little change?
No, there's actually a pretty big difference. Obviously, they're the same colour, but black and yellow are sort of in different spots and whatnot. And I think I've got 4 stars and he might have 5 or something. I don't know how. He's got diamonds actually. So, there's a fair bit different.
So how did you design your colours?
I was sort of just sitting down there one night at home and started drawing up a few colours, and I was looking at a few different people's and obviously looking at Jack's to try and do them a bit different, and sent a few to Jack, and then he told me to change a few things, and it all just came together.
Yeah, well, they do stand out on the racetrack. You can definitely tell it's a Callaghan out there in those colours, mate. Great to see you driving so well. Great to see you having this success in Queensland, and I think this might be the start of something big. Congratulations on what was a great night last night.
All right, thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me, mate.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
That I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner. Just like that.
And the winner is...
Mr. T, at this stage, he has got a handy lead. He's positive $38. I'm negative 34. So I need to pull the proverbial finger out. Mr. T got one winner last week. It paid $1.70. I had a wipeout, although I will say he did get a $1.12 fave beaten. Look, his 2 tips, he's going to split them. One at Temora on Tuesday and one at Bathurst on Wednesday. First one, Temora on Tuesday. Race 2, number 7, Red Bank Harry. Winner at Temora 3 starts ago, has been down the track at Wagga since, draws the inside of the second row, but has Bruce Harpley to overcome that. Mr. T thinks it's the way to go. So that is Red Bank Harry in race 2. And the other one at Bathurst on Wednesday, race 2, number 10, Rat-a-tat-tat. Anthony Frisbee trains and drives. Went around in the heat of the Chalice, was out of its grade, but has since come back, finished second. Mr. T says it has a good trailing draw, and that's a big plus and should be there at the finish. So that is race 2 at Bathurst, number 10, Rat-a-tat-tat. I'm going to Menangle Tuesday. Race 4, number 5, Tigerlicious. Forced to come very wide last start and then wanted to shy at something, lost its momentum in the straight. Wasn't going to win, but would have gone close to finishing the placings. Horse had won 2 in a row prior to that. So let's see Tigerlicious bounce back on Tuesday afternoon, race 4, number 5, and then go to the next race, race 5, number 2, Cyclone Bella. Jimmy Douglas and Wayne Dimmick. They're going to combine, hit the line well last start after getting a nice soft trip. Gets the same draw, racing similar horses, and I don't think she needs to improve too much to be winning. So race 5, number 2, Cyclone Bella. Tough week for me in fantasy harness racing. Half my team was over in New Zealand. Round 10 this week, Mick 70 leads on Sunday morning on 735 ahead of Mays with 731, and Freddie 25 has 726 points. Overall, Manning 90 has set up a handy lead. They are on 7,338 points. Boilover is second on 7,283, and Larry and Harry third on 7,280. I've dropped down to 138th overall. I've got to start working on my fantasy team and get back inside that top 100. Good luck if you're playing, and make sure to use your trades. That just about wraps up the Sunday session for the week. Big races still coming our way with the Nullarbor next week. Wagga have their cup, so too does Goulburn. So there's a lot to look forward to over the next couple of weeks. Thanks to Will and Tom for joining me on the podcast. I will catch you again next week, but it's bye for now.